Assalamu alaikum. It's a rainy morning, and I'm so glad that all of you have made the effort to come and taken the trouble to be here this morning. I am particularly grateful to the Foreign Secretary for gracing the occasion and for joining us for the inaugural session. She is always ready and willing to join all of us in all these discourses and meetings and seminars and workshops and conferences. So I'm particularly happy that she is here. I'm also happy that all my other friends and colleagues from various other institutions as well as the universities are here this morning, as well as some friends from the diplomatic corps. So welcome to all of you. Madam Foreign Secretary, distinguished guests, excellencies, worthy participants and scholars, I am immensely pleased to welcome you today to this seminar on Chemical Weapons Convention Implementation Challenges organized by CISS. The Foreign Secretary, Ms. Tehmina Janjua, is the keynote speaker for today's seminar. I also extend a hearty welcome to the scholars who are going to present their papers and their talk on the various sessions, the two sessions of the event. Mr. Khalid Banuri and Brigadier Zahir Kazmi will chair the respective sessions, and the speakers who will be presenting their thoughts with us are Ambassador Tariq Usman Haider, Dr. Zafar Ali, Brigadier Muhammad Afzal, Mr. Zawar Zaidi, Dr. Javed Khurshid, and Ms. Maryam Siddiq Baba. We are looking forward to hearing from these experts in all these specialized matters, topics that they have been assigned. Today's seminar aims to explore significant issues pertaining to the CWC, and I will leave it to the panelists to do that in their respective presentations. But I would like to start things off with a discussion of the convention itself and its significance. The CWC, which was opened for signature in 1993 and came into force in 1997, banned parties to the convention from the development, production, acquisition of chemical weapons and their proliferation to other states. It also made it incumbent upon states to destroy existing stocks of chemical weapons possessed by them and all other related facilities for the production of such weapons. Under Article 8 of the Convention, the Organization for the Prevention of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, was formed as an exclusive body responsible for overseeing and ensuring implementation of the agreement by member states. The origin of the CWC goes back to the horrors of the First World War, 1914 to 1919. Although some international agreements pertaining to the use of chemical weapons had existed earlier, most notably the agreements emanating from the Hague Conference of 1899. But the horrendous effects of the use of chemical weapons outraged the sensibilities of the combatant nations of the war, which led to the drawing up of the 1925 Geneva Protocol. It made illegal the use of chemical and biological weapons in war. The protocol was drawn up and signed by the League of Nations, and it entered into force on 8th of February 1928. But while the Geneva Convention prohibited the use of these weapons of mass destruction, it did not address the issue of possession of biological and chemical weapons. This was addressed in subsequent decades, and the CWC was the second such convention that banned an entire class of weapons, the first one being the Biological Weapons Convention of 1972. Ladies and gentlemen, the coming into existence of the CWC is deeply connected to the customary international law and international humanitarian law, specifically in the context of the prohibition of use of indiscriminate force and the principle of use of proportional force. During the Cold War, both superpowers built and managed stockpiles of chemical weapons, but neither of the two openly resorted to their use, owing to the taboo that had now developed against it. However, chemical weapons were used in subsequent decades. In 1967, chemical weapons were used in Vietnam, notably Agent Orange, a herbicide used to destroy vegetation in Vietnam, which had lasting effects on the Vietnamese population. In the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988, Iraq was said to have used chemical weapons. Israel has been known to have used chemical weapons in Gaza. In all these cases, the perpetrators of these weapons denied using them. This deliberate glossing over of chemical weapons use can be attributed to the stigma attached to their employment. In more recent years, there have been allegations of chemical weapons used by the Syrian government in the Syrian civil war. This year, following several chemical attacks in Syria, the great powers involved in the region failed to reach consensus about how to verify the perpetrators of the horrific attacks and grave humanitarian violations instead became a point of political tug of war between them. As a result of this competition for influence in the region and amongst the confusion, Western countries launched precision airstrikes on alleged chemical weapons facilities in Syrian territory. The UK cited humanitarian intervention as the grounds for its role in the conflict, while American President declared the attacks were aimed at deterring similar incidents in the future. Meanwhile, an OPCW team of investigators is currently in Syria for a fact-finding mission to probe allegations of chemical weapons attack allegedly carried out by government forces on April 7. In times and situations like these, blame-mongering and finger-pointing by powerful players involved in any conflicts become very crucial and lethal tools of instability and risk the greater priority of the sanctity of international law. International law is meant to hold civilized nations together in an otherwise anarchical world. The CWC is an important international agreement, and its breakdown may have dire repercussions for the security of the international community at large. In the substantive sessions, the speakers will explore the various technical, legal, and political aspects of the CWC and the consequences of its violation in regions vulnerable to the use of these egregious weapons of mass destruction. Our seminar comes at a time when the next CWC meeting is expected to take place at the end of May. So I think it's an appropriate time to look at this whole issue here in this seminar. I will end here, and I invite our audience to two enriching and illuminating sessions in this seminar. I may mention here that we are still not full capacity in terms of the acceptances, but that can be attributed to the weather, and I think in due course more people will be here. So it's not the quantity that counts, it's the quality, and I am very happy about the quality of participants that we have this morning. Thank you.